All right. Pat, is Shoreline still coming this week?
I haven't heard.
As of what we know, Shoreline will be here this week, probably tomorrow. At least they were scheduled at this point. So we want to make sure we're all organized, make sure we know what's going on. Obviously, they're coming out to see the tools, see the new tool and the old tool. So we want to make sure we're ready for that. Okay. All right. So we're talking about the bad old days of car service, but then we got pulling from the service bay. Most readers, we hope, have never been into the parts storage area of a car dealership. It's generally a horrible sight. When we first visited the parts department at Bob Sloan's Toyota near Philadelphia, we found a rabbit warren of rickety shelves, meandering aisles, and dim lighting in two separate buildings. Clearly, the physical flow of parts was an orphan activity compared to the income-producing service bays for car repairs and showroom where cars are sold. When we first visited Sloan, the dealership had about 3 months' supply of average part, creating an inventory of about $580,000 in service and crash parts. When a car was driven into Sloan for repairs, it was taken to the service bay where the technicians evaluated the problem and determined what parts would be needed. The technician then went to the parts window, requested necessary parts, and waited at the counter person to go get them, and somewhere in the bins in the aisles. Because Sloan received most parts in weekly batches, the workload of part stockers who took the parts from the receiving area and put them in the proper bin were very erratic. It generally took 3 days to get all of the parts from the receiving area into the bins, with the result that the counter person would often find empty bins and the computer showed the parts were in stock. Indeed, they were, but they were missing in action, somewhere between receiving area and proper bin. This knowledge touched off treasure hunts, which are distribution equivalent of expediting always necessary in batch and queue production operations. Good counter staff would generally find their part, but the whole exercise was inherently wasteful. The highly skilled technician, meanwhile, standing idly in the window all the time at the counter, waiting for that person to hunt down the parts. Okay? So if you think about it, does it sound like our material, right? Says we have it, we don't know where it's at. It could be in receiving, could be sitting on the floor, could be on the shelf. Then we have somebody sitting there. Besides the inspector packer, we have a setup person, we have material handling, somebody sitting around looking for it. It's the same thing. We go through a treasure hunt every day. That's the stuff we have to get straightened out, and that's about the process of how we do it. Okay?